Okay, so today we are talking about one of my favorite topics in entrepreneurship, and that is how does a former employee or an employee transition into entrepreneurship? We are in the fourth industrial revolution, and many businesses are shedding jobs in an attempt to stay competitive. And obviously, COVID-19 has accelerated this phenomena or this trend, and many employees are now finding themselves having to start businesses or even freelance. In this episode, we talk to Adi Kaimowitz, who is the co-founder and CEO of Virtual Actuary, on the mindset that entrepreneurs require to transition from employment. Adi Kaimowitz is a seasoned entrepreneur. He's a marketer and technologist, specializing in developing innovative thinking in Industry 4.0. Adi co-founded Virtual Actuary with his wife, Aliyah. Virtual Actuary is a platform that connects professional actuaries across the world to clients in banking and insurance and ICT and other sectors. Adi has 10 years experience in the actuarial industry, having previously worked as a recruiter for actuaries himself. I understand that he also opened a subsidiary in the US in partnership with a US-based insurtech global company. So we are really honored to have Adi on the show. Adi, welcome to Wellness for Entrepreneurs podcast. It is truly, truly an honor to be here, for you to be here.
Thank you. What a great introduction.
So let us start by unpacking the trends that are leading to employment becoming less and less full-time, such as the gig economy, and understand their impact on people in employment and those looking for a job. So certainly we've seen how COVID-19 has accelerated remote working and the new way of working. And so this has essentially been developing under the fourth industrial revolution all along. And now we're at a point where we're seeing an accelerated pace. Can you just unpack these trends for us a little bit?
I think two things. Firstly, thanks for having me. And I've watched some of your shows and they really get to the heart of this new world that we're in at the moment. And
thank you.
So I think that a lot of the reason why businesses are shedding their normal employees is because of pressure financially. So that's probably the number one thing, where they can't just be throwing money and spending money and doing whatever they want, because when they get that wrong, and they're losing a lot of money, and then it's panic stations, and then it's everybody overboard, or the business closes down. I don't think we've seen businesses close down like we have. And I think the pandemic really was just a little glitch. I think this was coming, and it has been for a while. So I think automation and technology has enabled companies to not have to have as much as admin staff in the office, not have to have as many couriers running out and about. They've been able to make better their processes so that they don't need as many delivery people and delivery trucks. They're just more refined. Companies are more refined, so they just don't need as many people on deck. So that's probably the number one reason. The second reason is because I think we're in the you as a brand world at the moment. And so a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs. They don't want to be owned and slaves to the business. They want to have their own self, their own brand. And so I think people are leaving anyway. There's this like woke trend of, I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm better than that. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So I think it works on both sides. Is businesses are shedding, and also they haven't worked by what we call lean principles. So that's why they're just bleeding money. And so they have to get rid of people. And then I think just technology has empowered somebody to say, well, I don't have to work in the office. I can work from home. And so they then take that option and then they leave. So I think it's a little bit of a mix of both. And that is the fourth industrial revolution. It is technology that is available to the common man or woman at an affordable price that allows them to compete in a market that previously they could not compete in, because you would have needed a whole office setup, and you would have needed a shop near the central district. People couldn't afford rent. Now you don't need that stuff. So the barrier to entry is a lot less. So that's why there's this like shift into more nimble business people becoming businesses?
Well, that's really great. I mean, I like the point you're making around we're living in the brand world. So you as a brand world, and I suppose that's a function of these trends around, for example, the gig economy. In any case, you only will be called for a gig if you have something to offer, and if people believe that you have something to offer. So I think the you as a brand world is quite interesting. But obviously, on social media. So I think in the past we really didn't have social media, and we didn't have platforms where people could express themselves as individuals. To access a radio interview or to access a TV interview would have been for the elite and the most powerful people at the time. So I think that's why probably that phenomenon is happening, and it's actually quite exciting because it then is resulting in people sharing knowledge. So in now knowledge all of a sudden is freely available. But I like the point you mentioned around the fancy offices and the low barriers to entry into entrepreneurship, especially for people who are now wanting to transition into entrepreneurship as a full-time business, because you would have had to save up quite a bit just to get that office, or you'd have to from the word go get a loan to enable you to do that, to hire those fancy offices. So that's really a cool point. So
I want to add that before I forget the point. When you talk about social media, what we're talking about is influencers. People have now credibility. So that was not the case. Back in the day, if you wanted a pair of tackies, or if you wanted to go to a hair salon, or you wanted to buy a bra, you would have gone to an established brand.
Yeah.
They are the ones that you didn't want this backyard builder to give you this product. But now let's say you're looking for a bra, and now you search online and you stumble upon a husband and wife team. The wife is an engineer and the husband is he works with metal, and they've devised this like bra that works with gas, but it looks slick, it's solid. The reviews are that it doesn't rust, that they even have a nice cover for it, and it comes in at half the price of the bigger brands. And they have this like YouTube channel, and as you start to delve into the product, their brand, which is just like husband and wife, and you don't even care what the brand is called. It could be called water and cheesecake. It doesn't matter what the brand is called, but it's the husband and wife team. You buy into their credibility of their product and their journey. And as you start to look into their items, the credibility factor kicks in, because they are now influencers and they've established their network and their brand online. And immediately there's a buy button, because they have an e-commerce platform that they're slick enough to make their product available to you. And it also links to a Yoko, or it links to one of these online payment platforms that are secure. So everything seems to point to the fact that if you click on buy it for 1,000 Rand instead of 5,000 Rand or whatever, you're going to get what you want. So you go, I'm going to buy it. And then you buy it, and then you rave about it, about how amazing it is, and you get it, and it's exactly what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So here we're talking about a full A to Z of the buying process from a small business owner that is now competing with a big brand. And it makes a lot of sense, and you get what you're expecting. So that's kind of where you as a brand and influencers comes in with technology and credibility, to allow somebody who either wants to buy or somebody who either wants to produce and distribute to be able to interact with the ecosystem of the buying and selling process.
Yeah. So literally, entrepreneurship is now democratized in a sense, pretty much from what you've explained. So that's really cool. So let's talk a little bit about the mindset shifts that need to happen. So we started off talking about, the transition from employment to entrepreneurship, and typically that there's this trend of employees leaving. They either want to be full-time entrepreneurs, or actually they're then using a platform like Virtual Actuary to be freelancers, right? And other type of platforms that enable that type of arrangement. So, when we study entrepreneurs, we realize that they are driven by an internal locus of control, autonomy, they're risk-taking, they spot a gap in the market, and they innovate, and out of that comes a new product or a new value proposition. So when I look at that, what are the fundamental mindset shifts that somebody who was fully employed now needs to almost, now needs to start thinking in that direction in order then to almost transform into this entrepreneur. And with these mind shifts, or rather these mindset shifts, would they apply fully to freelancers as well as they apply to somebody transitioning into employment? So are they the same thing, really, I suppose?
So I think that if somebody wants to transition, the first thing is that they have to be brave.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, is you either going to go with the flow or you're going to be brave. Okay. And so that's the first thing. And saying, I can do this. It's like your number one thing is I can do this. So like if that is a fact and you believe that and you say, I'm going for it, then it comes down to, if you want to transition across, is you need to try to work out, the only thing you really need is enough money to be able to survive for a few months. So that's like the number one thing that holds people back, is do I have enough money to just keep me going for a couple of months until I eventually get a paying customer? So that's really it. Anything after that is easy, because all you really need is a website. And these days you can get templates. You don't need 50,000 Rand. You can have $50 or 500 Rand and you can buy a template of a website. Then with that website, you get your own email address. You don't want an @Yahoo or an @Gmail email address. So the transitioning mindset is you need to present yourself as professionally as if you got a job. So if you got a job in a fishing company and you are now the biggest fishing distributors in South Africa, you'll walk in and they will have an email address, Mmathebe @fishworks.co.za. All of a sudden you're a professional and it has an email signature. So the mindset shift from being an employee to being an entrepreneur and a business person is that you have to be as professional as if you had walked into an established business. Because if you're going to present yourself as a startup that is an @Gmail or @Yahoo email address, you don't even have a website, very importantly, you don't have contracts ready to go. So let's say somebody says, I want to buy your braai, or I want to come to your nail salon, or I want to, how does your contract work with your dog parlor business? Well, here's the paperwork, here's the contract, we can't take responsibility. So you have to have contracts with your clients ready to go. So that they sign here, here's our indemnity, it's all ready to go. You have to have a bank account that has your company name. So professionalism and presenting yourself in a professional way, just because you're small, doesn't mean that just goes out the window. So once you understand that professionalism is really the ticket to being a business that can establish credibility, you're half the way there. Because if you have a website and an email address and contracts and ready to go, well, then everything else you already know. You already know how to interact with clients because that's what you've been doing. It's an industry. You already know how to source products because that's what you've been doing. You already know how to be the person in that industry that is the key player. The only difference is you don't have the frame. So if you can just establish that frame in a professional way, then you can be that business person. So that's the first thing. And then on the other side is how do the businesses help people transition into entrepreneurship, which is a difficult one. It's a catch-22. If you're an employer, is it your responsibility to help upskill the soft skills of your employees? Well, it's a catch-22 because by default, an employer doesn't want you to leave and become an entrepreneur. Like, why should they skill you up and build their own business and you're a key person in the business for you to leave? So normally what you'll find is the employers will send people on management courses so that they can be better employees, so that they can manage better. You know, they'll send them to strategy and innovation sessions so that they can be better employees, so that the business can grow. So it's a catch-22, okay? But if a business is going to have the responsibility, and I guess I'll let you lead with the question.
Yeah, sure. No worries, no worries. I like where you're going anyway. I think you've mentioned two things that I really want to unpack a little bit. So the first one that you mentioned is the concept of bravery, all right, and being courageous. Because I think a lot of time, you know, as an employee who's transitioning, there is definitely that leap of faith that you need to take, right? So you need to take that leap of faith. And typically, you know, you would do the calculations. Do I have enough money to pay my house, my car, et cetera, et cetera? And you would then decide, okay, maybe not today, but eventually you do decide to go. All right. So let's say you now have sorted the finances and you're ready to go. What I would like to unpack about that is the concept of human capital and why employees are probably, you know, very good or stand a very good chance at transitioning and becoming better entrepreneurs. So essentially the human capital component is around experience, knowledge that you would have you know, gathered in your work environment, and that obviously has something to do with your intellectual capital as well, in terms of you know, so your own intelligence, but also your emotional capital, how you've then are able to handle all these different situations, as well as social capital, which are the networks you would have acquired while working. Again, pointing to the reason or the correlation between having worked as an employee to being a successful entrepreneur. But I want us to unpack these little elements. So for example, if you think about knowledge or intellectual capital or even experience, the truth is the fourth industrial revolution complicates that discussion. So it seems that you know, new jobs of the future, right? Something like a human machine learning teaming manager, right? That doesn't even exist today. For transitioning employees, this may be a bit of a problem, because now transitioning employees have to all of a sudden get a new knowledge, but at the same time start businesses on what they know today. So this is a bit of a, in my view, a dilemma as a working employee, to say, how do I go into business when I know that the fourth industrial revolution presents completely new jobs and new worlds to live in? And do I go off and do farming the way I've done farming? Or do I now learn about how I can integrate artificial intelligence into farming?
Okay, it's a great question. I think that the task of somebody that has spent years building knowledge, building their personality, building their ability to interact with professional work colleagues, that is a skill set that you did with your own effort, and no one can take that away. So what happens is that is actually the secret. That is the key to you being a self-reliant business person, okay? And then it's really about using the technology that is available in the fourth industrial revolution for you to be able to somehow take that knowledge and interact with like-minded colleagues in a business environment. I don't think it's fair for somebody who's been an employee to all of a sudden have AI and robotics and machine learning and drones on their mind. I think that is for, you know, very large businesses that can just blow money and are looking to refine processes and businesses that they've had going for a long time. The key, it's very important for somebody who now, let's say, is the head of a marketing department, or the head of an editing department, or the head of the operational and distribution department, to say, if we were going to break away and be a business, we start talking about the business models that can accommodate you. So we talk about in our business virtual actuary, which is an actuary for businesses, which is a business for consulting actuaries. We operate as an organized, collaborative consortium business model. So what that means is that no one is an employee. Everybody works collaboratively in the gig economy, or what they call the talent economy, but it's like an organized gig economy. So let's say you wanted to open up a business, a building business, a business that does buildings. So let's say you're a bricklayer, and the other person is an engineer, and the other person is an architect, and the other person is in sales. If the 4 or 5 of you broke away and opened a consortium, working in an organized, collaborative way, then you're saying, we can put together these business plans. We can put together everything that we can now start to promote this development that we want to build. The bank will give us the finance if we can get enough sales. We'll be able to sell it on the promenade to people who want to buy it. We can actually operate as a building company, as a consortium. And once we get our first couple of sales, the bank will then give us the finance to start building. So what will happen is you work it in such a way that when the money comes into the business, the consortium splits the money. This is what we call about a consortium in the gig economy. So what happens is, if you break away and you then use technology, you have a computer, you have an internet connection, you have an email address, you have a phone. So when you're on the road, you have a data bank that allows your phone to be recharged if you want to run out. You're a business person in an organized collaborative that is contributing to the consortium. Okay, so this concept of the consortium and the talent economy is the breakthrough that any person wanting to operate as a business person needs to understand. You do not need to go get a loan. You do not need employees. You do not need to have all the money for the trucks and the distribution to be able to distribute a product. You can have somebody that has trucks that you can rent out on an ongoing basis, on a contract basis, that when the clients start to buy the products, you'll then use that distribution truck company. So if you operate as a consortium, you just need to understand that you can tap into the consortium by using the technology. So that is the 4th industrial revolution. You don't need drones, and you don't need robotics, and you don't need AI to be able to tap into the 4th industrial revolution. What does the consortium do as a business, and who are the clients? What are the clients going to want to buy or rent, or what services are they going to use? And if you have all the paperwork in place, then the consortium can operate. So I think that it takes bravery to break away, but you don't need startup capital. You just have to band together with a group of friends or professionals to operate a consortium that has stipulated contract that says, when the money comes in on this particular client, we will split it like this. So yeah. I know it sounds a little bit complicated, but it's actually quite a simple concept of, you're a gig economy person that taps into a shell structure that has people that buy from it and salespeople that tap into it. It's the organized collaborative consortium that you can tap into. So I don't think it's fair for people to say that they have to know everything about AI in order to compete, or risk just being employees and slaves to another business. So that is not the case.
No, I like that concept. I do think it's actually a breakthrough, because it does revolutionize how small businesses can, for the first time, scale themselves and have access to resources leveraging their networks, which actually brings me to my next question. How do transitioning employees access these social capital or social networks, right, to establish these types of businesses? Because I think it's a bit of a tricky situation, right? So what are the rules of engagement as I'm leaving a corporate company? How do I then approach the VP of a company that I used to work with as a supplier? How do you overcome your fear of rejection from former colleagues or even former suppliers?
So what it is it's about a methodical system of filing who your suppliers are. So what happens is, if you want to operate as a business, then all you need to know is, if I'm in this particular industry, who supplies the hair care products? Who supplies the basins? Who supplies the hair dryers? Who supplies rent as you go shops. Okay, we're going to have mobile hairdressers that go around. So I need to have a list of hairdressers that are willing to be booked. So if I phone you up and say, Hannes, I have a hair appointment for you at this address. This is what the client needs done. And we've agreed that this is what you're going to get paid. Then, and Hannes says, I'm available to be part of your suppliers. Should you book me? So you just have to have a methodical list of suppliers that are willing to say that if you phone me and you say you have a booking, just tell me what the address is. We've already got terms agreed. So tell me the details, tell me what the thing is, and put the order through. So it's really just about having organized suppliers that should the process play itself out and somebody wants to buy from you, you then tap into those suppliers. I don't think it's too difficult to be able to find those suppliers. You just have to have a methodical system of knowing who are the key suppliers along the value chain. But what you don't want to do is say, well, I need somebody that does admin, but you can't know Mary or Sipho that works in admin at Bidvest, because they're not a supplier that can supply you. They're a full-time employee. They're not going to do it on the side. So you need suppliers that are willing to supply those services to you. Okay, here's an accounting business. Here's operational people. We need some telesales people. This person is sitting and waiting at home. That should I phone them and say, we've got a campaign. We need you to phone 400 people today. Here's your pay-as-you-go recharge voucher. Make those phone calls. You know that campaign can start because that supplier, that telesales person is sitting at home. They're ready to work for the day because you've booked them. Here's the job spec, and this is what you need. We need you to do. We need you to phone. These are the numbers, and here's your pay as you go. So before you know what's going on, you've got 15 telesales people making phone calls on a campaign and emailing all the details on the system.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're a market research company because your suppliers are sitting at home waiting for you to phone them to say, we've got a campaign. Before you know what's going on, then you've got the data inputting people that are ready to work. It's okay, we've got this campaign from Monday till Thursday. You're going to get 500 emails from all of these 20 different telesales people. I want you to collate it and put it on the system. And we've used this program that does analytics. And before you know what's going on, you've got, within 1 week, you've done a full campaign for Nestle. And you've spoken about the chocolates, and they phoned people and they love it. And they, you know, this is, they don't like nuts, they do. And now you're a brand analytics supplier to a chocolate company because you're able to provide a fully fledged phoning system that works. But it's really about having suppliers that are ready to work for you in the consortium. You can't have full-time employees that are part of that supply chain because they're not available to work. So that is really what it comes down to, is networking with people online that are ready to be gig economy people that can do this. So that supplier falls into this category. So I have a list of 20 people. I've got a list of 20 people. I've got a list of 20 people. So should the process play itself out, you then tap into those suppliers that the contract, you know, we go, you know, project one is a go, and then you deliver project one. Oh, hold on a second. Then that client is happy. You have a feedback session. All of a sudden the client pays, they're happy. Thank you, Mmathebe. That was an awesome campaign. Loved your work. Can't wait to use you again.
Yeah.
Then they refer, you know, Platco buses. All of a sudden, you're now a consortium of market research. You're a market research consortium from nothing. You didn't have a whole office. You're just using suppliers. So that's just like off the cuff type stuff in tapping into suppliers to be a consortium.
That is revolutionary. I do agree with that. And I've seen one or two businesses that have actually done that sort of consortium arrangement, and all of a sudden they were able to augment the breadth of their services, firstly, and just the quality of service that they render. So I think that's really, really cool. But I want to go back to...
Quality is the most important word.
Yes.
It's the most important word, because you have to be a professional consortium. When you provide that client with that product or service, the quality has to match one of the established firms. Because if
Mm.
that is the case, then that client sees, we took a chance on the small business, but you know what? The quality was identical to the established firms at a fourth of the price. The quality is the credibility. We'll use them again. It is a very important point.
Yeah. So my accounting brain is actually running away with me to say, the point that you mentioned around at a third or fourth of the price, to say, even thinking about those collaborative models from a terms perspective in those consortiums, are they almost revenue share type of arrangements, or are they literally supplier arrangements on the go that would then enable these type of cost savings, I suppose, for your clients?
It's predetermined supplier arrangements.
I see.
You know with that supplier what they want to get paid for their service. But everybody's operating as a lean business in the consortium.
Got you.
So nobody has massive expenses. Nobody's bleeding money. So therefore, that supplier says, you know what? If you do it 10, I'll give it for 250 Rand. But if you just do it once, I'll do it for 310. So you know what your pricing is. So when but everyone's operating as a lean business because everybody's remote. We don't have hectic loans that we have to pay back. We don't have endless amounts of staff and HR people that are not being used at all that we have to build into the pricing. So everybody is lean, which allows you to be lean to the client. That's where the cost saving is.
I see. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So I'm going to go back to the other question, which is, you had touched on it earlier, which is really about corporates and their role in this transitioning phase of employees going into entrepreneurship. So I want to highlight a different type of dilemma, but very close to what you were mentioning. So corporates are in a bit of a dilemma. I suppose they themselves are also wanting to inculcate some kind of entrepreneurial behavior in their own people as they want to pivot and gain new competitive advantage in the fourth industrial revolution. So it's probably worth their while to invest in entrepreneurial type of behavior versus what you had mentioned, like training courses for being a good manager. So it's probably in their interest. However, even as uncertainty grows, some employees are being more and more attracted to this world, the entrepreneurship or gig economy world. How do corporates manage this? But also, at the same time, how do employees manage their own transition journey by taking advantage of this type of dilemma?
It's a great question. So what you want to do is you want to nurture an innovative, free, new age thinking employee. Okay? Because if you can have a culture of innovation in your own business, any innovation that is created in the business, in the corporate, the IP, the intellectual property belongs to the business. So there is a plus side for the big corporate to nurture innovative entrepreneurial thinking, even if those people leave. So what happens is what you don't want to do is give them courses in being entrepreneurs that they're definitely going to leave. What you want to do is you want to have maybe every third day for an hour, the big corporates say, as part of your paid day, we want you to spend 1 hour every third day working on pitching an idea. You will pitch 3 ideas a year to 4 different departments. So we want you to think about the marketing department and the building department completely different. We want you to pitch an idea, but a proper idea that department can run with. And you will pitch it to them. And if they like it, they will run with it. And there will be an upside to your salary or whatever if they run with it. You could come up with the most brilliant idea for the SMS department. And if it takes off, you'll get 10% forever. or whatever the case may be, you must pitch innovative ideas for that department to be able to be better. So what that does is that allows that innovative entrepreneurial thinking to create a culture of innovation in the business. But those departments are getting pitched these like silly, weird ideas. And you know what? They're going to find amazing ideas. But what that does for the employee is it teaches them how to be innovative venture capital pitchers. So even though that idea and that IP doesn't belong to them because they're employees, it wouldn't be fair for that IP to belong to them. They're learning how to create ideas and pitch it to departments that could actually use it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you could have a monthly talk by these employees to various departments about random topics. Topics on bravery, topics on not giving up, topics on building online presence. So what you want to do is you want to encourage employees to learn how to talk to crowds. Because any entrepreneur is going to need to represent their product. Any new small business owner is going to need to learn how to get up in front of, you know, a group full of people and say, this is our product, this is who we are, doing online talks like this. And you need to be able to pull that off. So you need to nurture employees to learn how to do public speaking. So these sort of soft skills, what it does is it encourages a bit of camaraderie amongst the staff that are normally just sitting at their desks, not doing any of the sort of, you know, soft skills type stuff, or you say, here's a laptop, we want you to load this program on this laptop, and teach them how to load software on their computer and get it working. Oh, you had to update the driver. What does that mean? Why is this laptop not working? Let them go and research how to get this laptop to interact with a Zoom call. So you're teaching them the soft skills of how to actually run a computer, not just, the computer's broken, I'm going to get the IT person to sort it out. So if you are able to nurture soft skills, everybody will be better. The level of acumen will rise. You might just come up with amazing, innovative ideas that are actually being pitched to departments. People are learning how to do public speaking, so it's a bit of a vibe. Oh my God, Henrietta is talking to, I hate this girl. Can't wait for her to mess up, you know? But meanwhile, she gets up and she smashes it. And you think, she didn't use PowerPoint, she used, wow, that's a brilliant program for public speaking, like that you use, not PowerPoint. So if you can do that, then the corporates can actually benefit from maybe finding a couple of diamonds and creating a bit of camaraderie, and they own the IP. But what it does is it nurtures those soft skills for somebody who eventually breaks away and has learned to participate in a bit of a pressurized situation. And those skills are invaluable. So that's how I think you can strike a balance.
Yeah, no, I like that, because even if the corporate is not necessarily doing that and it's like a formal program, the stuff you're mentioning around pitching, looking for ideas to improve the company, you know, soft skills, you know, all these different things that you've mentioned, employees themselves can take that on without necessarily waiting for corporate to do that. So those are all very valuable skills, I suppose, as you transition into entrepreneurship. So you don't have to wait. So all that is applicable both ways. What I want to just, in closing, I want to just talk about, again, virtual actuary. So the type of work that you do, and how have you managed to even recruit actuaries to do what you've asked them to do? Because typically these are very professional and, you know, with no stereotypes, but the personality that's required to be an actuary typically is not necessarily one that does a gig economy type of work. You know, so how have you managed to get that recipe right?
It's a tough one. And dare I say that back in the day when I was selling carpet cleaning door to door in London, and when I was doing telesales in London, and when I was selling cleaning chemicals to trucking companies in Boksburg, and so how was I able to do that? You know, tough situations where you have to communicate with people about things. So that's how I learned to do that. Okay. But then another concept that comes into play in how is one able to be a disruptor in an industry. Because what we've done as a business is virtual actuary, in my opinion, has disrupted the consulting space. So we've disrupted the traditional big firm consulting space by having the same quality and amount of actuaries available to do work as the big firms, but we've done that in a way where we're a lean business, so we charge significantly less, and the actuaries in the consortium make like double the money than they would at another consultancy, because we've turned the earnings table upside down by the actuaries getting most of the money and the business taking significantly less. So they earn more, but we offer the same service as the big firms. In fact, we are a big firm now as well. So that's the kind of business that we operate. We use all the principles that I've spoken about to be able to offer the same quality of service as the big firms, but the actuaries benefit more because they get a bigger portion of the fee. Okay. So how is one able to get buy-in? So if you want to be a disruptor, it is very important that you learn to be the observer. It is the observer that will beat the system, because the observer has been watching the system. So the only way to actually be the observer is to spend years and years in a particular industry as an employee. So what happened was I got a job in recruitment eventually. And it was the best product I ever sold was people, was recruiting people. It's better than magazine advertising. It's better than anything that I ever sold. Was I've got a product, it's a person, they're impeccable credentials, and I think you'll love working with them. So, you know, so I got a job back in the day in recruitment and subsequently opened my own actuarial recruitment business, which I operated before virtual actuary for almost 10 years. But what that allowed me to do in moving people from one business to another and providing them with opportunities that are new, that, you know, where they wanted managerial experience. And so that's what recruitment is opportunities for employees. Okay. I did that for 10 years. And I also built up a network of actuaries because I only recruited actuaries. But what that allowed me to do is become the observer of the actuarial market, the actuarial industry. And what I noticed was that two things. Independent actuaries, so these are actuaries that are not employed at a big consultancy and they're not employed at an insurer or a bank, because we service the banking sector and the insurance sector and healthcare sector and so on. The actuaries, which is probably one of the highest credibility degrees you can get, they produce products. They price products and they do the financial reporting of those products. Banking products, insurance products, healthcare products, pension products. So that's what actuaries do. They either do product development and pricing, they do valuations and reporting, and then a little bit in between. These are the services that we offer. We do auditing services as well in certain businesses. Okay. So what I noticed was that the independent actuaries that were their own standalone business, these are experienced actuaries that are not employees, they had one major problem, and that was the ability to scale their
intelligence.
So their intelligence and their experience.
Yeah.
So if you've got 15 years of experience and you're an independent actuary, you can only work on like one or two big clients, and that is it. You just don't have more time. So how do you scale yourself as an independent? You're a gig economy designer. You're an amazing graphic designer. It's just you. So as an actuary, how do you scale your knowledge? You can't. So you have to open a small boutique business. That's how they do it. They open small boutique businesses and they interact with other independent actuaries, and they open a firm of 4 independent actuaries. Now you're a consultancy of 4 independent actuaries. But generally what would happen is they would open that as a normal boutique business. We need office space, we need a loan, everyone's on salaries, we'll hire 5 people, and they go into the same corporate mindset of we'll open a normal business. Inevitably, things happen and they have no business and they're stuck with 7 employees and they're just bleeding money and the business closes down. So I decided, if I could take 15 independent actuaries, this was my observer. If I could find 15 independent actuaries and say to them, hold on a second, we're not going to open an equity sharing business where you have to put money in and there's bonus pools and we open a small boutique business because I don't know what's going to happen. You might fall off the table. So let's rather say, let's run a talent gig economy consortium. You can still try and find work, but if the consortium can find you work and we put 2 of you on a project, we know what the client is going to pay and we'll know what you 2 will get for that work. Are you willing to go with me? And then I had 15 people that said, I'm willing to go with you. If you can find us work under the virtual actuary banner, and when we get paid at the end of the month, I'm happy to take this much money and you can take that much money. So that's what happened. Is I formulated the idea of the organized collaborative of independent talent gig economy professionals that work in an organized way, that there's organized supplier contracts. The actuaries are the suppliers. When we get work, you will get most of the money. That's what you get paid. Are you happy with that? I'm happy with that. Fine. So then we go together to the clients, the Sunlums and the Old Mutuals and the Metropolitans and the Liberties and the Absas and the Nedbanks, all the companies and the Munich Re and the Score Reinsurance that hire actuaries and that need work done, that are normally giving work to the other big firms, to say, we've got a talent group of actuaries ready to work today. They're not full-time employees. They're ready to work today. If you bring us the work, we can do the work. And then the client started engaging with us. We started signing contracts, and then the work started. And at the end of the month, we paid the actuaries, and we get paid within 7 days. Very important. So we invoice at the end of the month, we get paid within 7 days. Very important term, because the actuaries know that they only get paid when we get paid. So then I have to change the terms with the big clients. Very important point, that, because they won't want to work with me. But then they started getting paid. So the real shift was the observer, with actual experience observing the market, picking up that independent professionals, independent actuaries had a shortfall in being able to scale because they couldn't take on projects that needed 5 people. So if we work together, we can operate as a firm, and a split shared revenue for who did what, and you get paid at the end of the month. And that's how our organized collaborative consortium picked up. And now we're 2.5 years in and 70 million rand in revenue with a business in the US that is opened, and a business in Australia and growing, and so on. And still self-funded. Still self-funded.
Incredible.
But we'll do a round of raising, but we've jumped over a lot of rounds of raising where we didn't raise, and we did it ourselves.
Yeah.
But now, in looking to scale, we'll look to do a big round of raising. We're just busy building the platform and some insurtech and so on. So we will, and then we'll be a global shared platform for actuaries operating and servicing global clients in an organized collaborative way. So it's about being the observer.
That's the power of observation. Quite interesting. I'm going to be doing an episode on disruptive thinking. And that's observation is one of the cornerstone of disruptive thinking. So definitely, yes. So that definitely ties in very well. So I'll be like, that's a case study right there. Adi, thank you so much for your time. And I'm really grateful that you were able to join this podcast and share so many valuable pearls of wisdom. I hope that as a transitioning employee, our listeners will find this very useful and will at least pick out one of the key, 1 or 2 key principles and try to practice that. So thank you so much.
Amazing. I'm grateful to have participated. It's a lovely podcast, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so grateful that, I'm going to actually take that review and play it, in the beginning. So thank you so very much.
This is Adi Kaimowitz from Virtual Actuary, and this is a lovely podcast.
Thank you so much, Adi. Thank you so much. All right.